Hello, hi, good evening.
Hi Vasudev.
This is Shamej actually.
Oh, this is Shamesh.
I
Why
changed the name. I changed the
I
name.
you change the name, you change the picture, you confuse.
Yeah, I was wondering
Yeah.
that.
One second. Okay. So we have all our.
Hello.
Hi Brooks, how are you?
Very good. How you doing?
Good to see you finally.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice to see you here.
Good morning. Is it like
Uh,
a really early morning session for you?
no, it's not. It's actually just 9 a.m. So it's nice regular morning. And it's an evening for you guys, right? 9:30 p.m.
Yes,
Cool.
yes. It's for India, yes, it's close to bedtime for a lot of people,
Well,
but not.
hopefully I won't be so boring that I put you to sleep too early, but maybe afterwards I'll give you a good night's sleep.
No, the way we have been having the inquiries for your session, it doesn't look like it. Everybody's just so pumped up, just wanting to be here. So I don't think so. Like I was telling you, I've had difficulty saying no to people. That's been the difficult part.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah.
when they listen to the recording afterwards, they'll get a lot of value out of it. There's a lot of the same ideas pop up. Even if we didn't think to ask something, when somebody else asks it, we go, "Oh yeah, I was kind of wondering about that." And it's so it's a great it'll be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, yes, I think what you're saying is it's more or less the similar thoughts and similar confusions that we have, but it just seems like, okay, it's mine and I'm stuck in it and it's my original mess, but it is not. It's everybody's.
That's right. That's right. And that's how stories work, right? We tell a story about a hero, and they have this particular mess, and people watch it because they can relate to that mess that they unsolve in the course of their story. So,
Those are the
right.
most captivating stories, the one that we can find ourselves in without really wanting to get in. There's so many stories when you don't want to be in it, when you just don't want to be in it, but you say, oh, damn, I find myself in there.
That's
Okay,
it.
great.
Yeah.
Superb. I will move out and leave you guys all here. I just wanted to do a quick introduction. Angad, I have a special request for you.
Mhm.
Anirudh would need help with translation.
Okay.
If he needs to communicate with Brooks, he's not feeling too comfortable speaking in English. He can absolutely understand, but like to put his thoughts together. So if he Anirudh wants to speak to Brooks in his time, please
Mhm.
just help him translate. Yeah, I mean any of you can, but I just said to Angad, right?
Excellent. Yeah.
Okay, great. So Brooks, over to you. Please help us know you a little more and the
Great.
structure.
Great. Yeah, that sounds great. So, hello everybody. Good to meet you guys. Am I am a Hollywood screenwriter, and I am a coach of screenwriters. I started making movies with my friends when I was 14, 15 years old. We just made a bunch of very silly comedies for the fun of it, and I've never stopped. I studied at NYU Film School. I wrote, directed, and produced a few independent features after that. Um, but more recently, probably in the last 15 years or so, I started focusing mostly on screenwriting. And then I was able to, and this is probably going to be helpful for you. The I was able to, because I was my independent films that I wrote, directed, and produced. They were okay, but they didn't make a big splash in Hollywood or any place. So, and I was like, well, what's going on? Because I liked them, and people that did see them, like, oh, this is pretty good, but like, how come it wasn't making an even bigger impact? And that's when I realized that if I did what was very personal to me, but actually leaned into a genre, because I wasn't a big into genres in general. I liked more sort of, more like prestige type pictures, dramas and things. But I was like, well, what if I take that drama that I like and bring it into an aspect of genre And that's when my career took off, because the genre part was more about, it was more inclusive to a bigger audience. And then once I did both, something personal and inclusive, Hollywood was like, okay, great. And then I started, selling scripts and making significant money. So, and then, but I've always been interested in personal growth and support. I'm also a sports guy. I played sports my whole life, soccer or football, as you guys probably call it. Played my whole life. I played in college. So for me, it became very natural to say, well, hold on a second. What if I also, in addition to writing my own stuff, work with other people, almost like they're an athlete, like a talented athlete, getting them to the next level. And that's really fun for me. I even coach my kids in like basketball and soccer. So I love coaching in every facet. So it's fun. So my life is now created in a way where I get to write my own stuff or help other writers connect with their audiences. It's great. It's a dream life for me. And so I'm happy to be here talking about you guys, seeing. So the structure is, we can go around the circle and I'll get to know you a little bit. And I'll get a sense of where you are on your journey, and then what your biggest obstacle might be. And then I'll probably be able to give you some ideas on how to navigate that obstacle. And when we talk about that obstacle for you, everybody else can probably relate to it on one degree or another, on this call and then also beyond. So let me start by asking a question. If you guys can put in chat, how many years have you guys been? Okay, cool. Well, first show of hands. Everybody in this call is a writer and a director, correct? Both? Cool, great. Yeah, I still identify as a writer director, and I'm probably going to start directing again next year. But so I totally relate. But the things that the biggest thing that, again, that when I sort of made my breakthrough was the key is really coming up with your superpower, being really clear on what you do that's special, that's evoking emotion for other people, whether it's pure screenwriting or writing and directing, or just directing up that's something somebody else wrote. You want to figure out what your specialty is and who's looking for that specialty. And that's the way to sort of keep reinventing yourself and staying active in your career. Okay, so let me, if you can put in chat just a number, how many years have you guys been making movies? This, just, is it 2, 5, 10, 20, whatever it is, it's fine. 5, good. Who else? Just throw them in. 11, great. 5, good. 4 to 5, excellent. Okay, good. Okay, that helps. My next question for everybody is 7, excellent. My next question is, do you guys want to make movies for just for Bollywood, or do you guys actually would love to work in Hollywood or internationally? So those are the 3 options. So you say all of them, but put in chat all of them, Hollywood, Bollywood, whatever, because that'll give me a sense of how to help you. All of them. Okay, good. Well, it's internationally. All of them. All right, you guys got big dreams. Good. Well, good. So that's helpful, because I know and respect that Bollywood. Okay, good. You guys are shooting big. All right, it's cool. And if it wasn't, if you guys were just into Bollywood, that would be fine too. I just don't know that much about that cinema. I know you guys make more movies than Hollywood, which is really cool. But I'm an expert in Hollywood. So, and international is pretty similar to the Hollywood market. So cool. Okay, so we will focus mostly on Hollywood, and I'll get a sense of where you are and where you're going. Okay, so in those whatever it seems like a range like 5 to maybe 11 years. Tell me how many movies you've actually made. Like, include short movies first. How many short films or videos, short things have you made? Is it 2, 10, 20, 50? Again, whatever number. There's no judgment here. I'm just trying to get a sense. 8, good. 5, excellent. 5, 9, excellent. Good. Has raise your hand if you've made a feature. If you made a feature film. So one feature filmmaker. Okay, cool. Good. Oh, two features. Okay. Cool. Good. All right, great. So excellent. So that gives me a good sense of where you are coming from. And I'm excited. I'm excited to help you. So one main thing for everybody, like if I could go back and advise me when I was in, because before I got to NYU Film School, I had made dozens and dozens of short films. I was making with my friends. We were just doing it all the time. Where it was crazy, it was fun. And then I went to NYU and went to, and really, I probably made another dozen movies there. And it was, so I was like, oh, I'm ready for a feature. And so I was 22 years old. I went, and that summer I made a feature. And here was the big thing, and this is the big takeaway that I want. If you guys take away one thing from me, this is probably the biggest lesson. And then we'll go into individually around specifically what's going on in your journeys. So, but the big thing for everybody is, if I were to advise me back when I was 22 and I was about to make a feature, I would have said, do more shorts. Why? And the reason is Hollywood will pay attention when you can do something at a high level. They don't care whether the high level is 5 minutes or 100 minutes. They don't. I promise you they don't. In fact, here's how I know. The first script that I was going to make it. So the script that I made that I wrote that was really kind of crossed over and got a lot of attention in Hollywood. We were originally going to make that ourselves. Me and the other guy were going to co-write it. That we co-wrote it. We were going to co-direct it. But the producer that we were working with was like, look, this is really great. Let's get it set up and let somebody else produce it and direct it in Hollywood. It's going to do even better for your career. I said, okay, great. So I was like, oh, good. There's going to be this famous director. It's going to be amazing. But the guy they brought in to direct it, he had only made a short film. And at that point, I had already made 2 features. So I said, hold on a second. I've made 2 features. He's only made 1 short. Why are you giving, and I wrote the damn script. Why are you giving the job to this guy? Right? It's interesting. And the reason was nobody saw my 2 features. they were these very personal dramas. And his short film in whatever, 5 minutes or 10 minutes showed that they thought he had, they saw things in his short that they felt like, actually they liked his short so much, it got developed at one of the studios. So he was on the studio list and I wasn't. And that's a great takeaway, right? And I was really upset about it for a day. And then I was like, all right, whatever. Then you can do it. It was fine. but the takeaway for you guys is you can, if your idea is, I want to work with Hollywood people, I want to do some, that sort of thing. You can show your stuff in a short film. They can see it really quickly. So, and not only that, as you're dialing it in, so because we learn so much on every film, right? When you guys think back to the film you made 2 or 3 times ago, you're going, wow, I'm much better writer director now, right? So the other way everybody can dial that in is micro content. Like, think in terms of, like, I want you guys to think you guys are creative people, right? So these ideas come, and sometimes you go, oh, I have an idea for a short, and maybe it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes, right? And maybe you have ideas for features that you write the script for or whatever. But I also want you guys to think of like tiny micro nuggets, just a little idea, a 10-second idea, 20-second idea, right? And maybe they're even fragments of the bigger thing that you're doing, but they just come to you as a person. And then pick up your phone and shoot it and put it online tonight or tomorrow or next day and look at what the audience is doing. That, my friend, for everybody is the single best thing you guys can do for your career. You want to get Hollywood's attention? Get 1 million followers. And then get 1 million followers by doing 20-second clips, 30-second clips. And Hollywood will go, hello, nice to meet you. Let's talk about business, right? And here's how I know. So in my program, I work with mostly screenwriters, but there's somebody that joined my program a few months ago, and he has 3 million followers online. And what he did was he was in this sketch comedy class. So they go in and they would like do characters, and it was kind of like this comedy class. And he goes, you know what? Let me do some of these characters. Let me put it online. So he'd do these 20-second clips or 30-second clips that were really funny. He did 1 a day, every day, and it just started blowing up. Boom, 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 boom. So now he's got 3 million followers, and Hollywood is all over him. They're like, we want to do something. We want to make a TV show. So he came to me and I showed him how to take his skill for 30 seconds and then turn it into like a 30-minute TV show for Hollywood, right? So you guys already have those chops. That's right. You're bringing in eyeballs. It makes a difference. That's part of their job. They're going to take, how do they choose who they're going to work with? Well, A, it's sort of your superpower, right? Whatever the quality of your work is. And then B, if you already have an audience, that's a huge asset. It's a huge asset, right? And that be for two reasons. One is they can directly market to those people, right? And then two is you're just proving, because to get 3 million followers, you had to have people go, I like this person, I'm going to follow them. It's not that big of a thing, but it means something, right? So it means there's a bit of you've proven yourself in the marketplace in a totally different way than if you have 3 followers, right? 3 followers means one thing, 3 million followers means another, right? And you guys will get, what's most important to all you guys, you will become better filmmakers when you do this. Micro content. Don't force yourself. Don't think you have to, but I'm just saying the shortest path between where you are now and actually getting Hollywood's attention is, just set a thing. Try for the next month, try 1 10-second clip. You could act in it yourself. You could, somebody in your family or a friend could be the actor. Something really simple. 1 shot, natural lighting, really simple. 1 idea, 1 emotion, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, right? Put it out on social media, Instagram, Twitter, anything, and just see what the reaction is. Are you eliciting emotion in somebody else? If it's scary, are they feeling fear? Is it funny? Are they laughing? Is it a comedy, right? Is it drama? Do you really catch them in the gut? I mean, think about a 15-second clip of a mother finding out her son was killed. That's impactful, right? 15 seconds. You do that clip and the acting is good, you're going to get thousands and thousands of people seeing that clip. You see what I'm saying? Guys, your audience is right here. There's no gatekeepers anymore. They're right here. So practice your craft in your mind. Go, I got an idea for a 10-second clip or a 30-second clip, and then sketch it out, get a friend, shoot it, put it out there, and listen to the audience. What are they saying? What do they like? What do they not like? Right? And then that's that fast feedback loop. And then you learn, because this guy that I worked with who has 3 million followers, he's done, at this point, he's done like 200 of those 30-second clips, something like that, 200. So if you look at like the first 1, 2, or 5 he did, they're not very good at all, right? But the ones but after he got like 10, 15, 20, 30, and after in his mind, he was like, no, I'm a real filmmaker. I show up and I make a movie every day. He does like 5 a week or 7 a week. And that's just part of his identity. Now, so once he probably got up to like 500,000 followers or like 1 million, he started getting money from brands. He'll promote it. It's like, hey, promote this drink. And he talks about it, blah, blah, blah. So he's making money as a full-time filmmaker, right? And then again, Hollywood comes to him. He's got it dialed in. Does that make sense, everybody? It's really empowering once you can find your own way. The key is to find your own way. Again, like go with your superpower. If you don't like comedy, don't do comedy clips, but do whatever you guys really like that's in your heart, and just play with it. Have fun with it. Go, I don't know. It's, just experiment. Or if you're pretty good at one thing, but you want to get better at a different part of the craft, try some clips there. The thing with social media is it can be as formal or as casual as you want it to be. I mean, literally, you can shoot it on your phone with crappy lighting, and bad acting. If it's scary, you can even have a bad actor and people will like it if it's like a horror movie. It just depends on where your heart is. Okay, so that's news that's helpful for everybody. Let me go into individual. So who, raise your hand if you want to go first. I'll get to know a little bit more about your specific situation and what an obstacle that you're facing, and I'll be able to give you some tips on what might be a next step for you. And know that anything we talk about will be helpful for everybody who's listening. Who wants to go first? It's gonna be totally painful and terrible. Okay. Sohail. Is that how you say your name? Sohail?
Yeah, that was right.
Sorry.
Right.
Okay,
So how can I
Shamil, you
help
can
you
go
today?
first.
No problem,
So
Suhail.
first,
Yeah,
let me
carry on.
introduce myself.
Oh,
Okay.
who's going first? Let's go to, I think Sohail. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm currently studying in York University. I'm in my second year. I'm a film student. So my one roadblock that I ran into all the time is I was recently watching all my films to see what progress I've made throughout the years and what needs to be improved. So I observed this common things that my dialogue writing in all my movies is very unnatural and stiff,
Mhm.
and they felt very unnatural. So that's the roadblock that I always ran into. I always have a hard time coming up with compelling dialogues.
Great. It's a great question, right? Awesome. So what I'm hearing is you feel like dialogue is it doesn't come easy to you. Um, so what's great about this question is there's a game. Bye bye. Uh, there's a game called Apples to Apples that I play, right? And what it means is you can do this with dialogue and you can do it with any facet of the game. So you tell me who what's a filmmaker that you know of that writes really great dialogue in the way and the style that you would love to write?
I think Vincent Gilligan, creator of Breaking Bad.
Vince Gilligan. Great. Okay. Um, yeah, he was at NYU when I was there. Vince Gilligan.
Uh,
Okay.
I
So
One of my friends is from there,
okay,
NYU.
cool. Nice, good. Okay. So um so go here's how you sort of up level your craft, and this is everybody can do the same thing. Take one page of a Vince Gilligan script. Might be better if it's going to be Breaking Bad, maybe some a later episode that's maybe a little more obscure, something that he wrote but maybe people aren't that familiar with. The one Just take one page, read it over, put it aside, and then from memory you write your version of that one page, what the action scenes are, what the dialogue is, what just from memory, right? And then compare yours to his, apples to apples. Oh, why did his dialogue? Why was his dialogue maybe punchier or this or that? What was different about mine and his, right? Then revise yours. You could even go, you know what? As much as I love Vince Gilligan, I actually like it a little bit better here. You can personalize it, right? Blah blah blah. Then go talk to a friend. So and tell a friend, say, look, I've got two versions of the script. Don't tell him which one's yours and which one's Vince Gilligan's. And say, can you give me feedback on A and can you give me feedback on B? Right? Now they're going to go, oh, this is interesting. I like A because of such and such. I like B because of such and such. Right? Cool. And now you can go. And when they can't tell the difference or they're picking yours, you like your version better than Vince Gilligan's, right? Now you're getting somewhere. And then play the game again. Say maybe you like Quentin Tarantino or whatever. Whatever dialogue person that you like, study them apples to apples, write them out. And again, you can the key is it's not a bad idea as a first step to write exactly in their style, especially if you want to ever write like in a TV room or something, because you're writing really in the voice of the TV show or the other characters. Um, but you guys are all, if you're writing your own, creating your own stuff, you want to be able to write originally. So you might be able to go way off the scene and just and have like, once you maybe do it close to how the actual scene was, then kind of go off, say, okay, let me take it in a different direction. Like instead of the character doing this, the character's going to do that. But still, then you kind of do it in your style and then hand it to a friend and say, which one do you like better and why? And they will start telling you, and that will close the gap between where you are now and where you want to go. Yes?
Yes.
Cool. And you can
Thank.
do this with any facet of the craft, not just dialogue. You could do this with tone, like the tonal choices in one page. You could do it with a log line, like the concept. Take the concept of Breaking Bad versus the concept of what you have. Um, every facet of almost any facet of the game, you can kind of compare apples to apples, and then you just kind of walk it in. So again, first you analyze what you love about something else, you do your version of it, and then you blindly get feedback on both so that they can get a sense of it. And you know where I got this idea because Quentin Tarantino tells a really funny story about when he was an actor in the 80s. Because in the 80s, it was hard to you couldn't get scripts. So he had to like watch something on like on on a VHS at home, and then he'd write down the scenes so that he could do his acting. So he took this scene to his acting partner in an acting class, And the guy's reading the scene, goes, Quentin, this isn't in the movie. He goes, oh, really? That's not, oh, I'm sorry. He goes, no, this is better than what's in the movie. So he goes, oh, that's really interesting. Maybe I'm pretty good at dialogue. So that's where I got the idea. You can just study your favorite filmmakers or writers and you will dial that in. And so on the directing side, same thing, right? Your shot selection. You take a certain shot, you like this cinematographer, or you like this director, you like this particular shot, sequence, 1, 2, 3 shots. Look at what they did. Do your version of it on your phone, right? And obviously they're going to know what's yours and what's the real one. But still, you just try to dial it in and get a friend to say, okay, what is Scorsese doing in these 3 shots that I'm not doing? How do I dial it in so that you actually like mine better than Scorsese's? Yes. Cool. Cool, great. All right, let's keep it moving, and then if there's time at the end, we can come back to anybody. Okay, who's next? Shemej. Is that how you
Hi,
say it?
yeah.
Cool.
Good morning, Mr. Brooks, and
Thank you.
all my friends. Good evening.
Good evening.
Myself, Shamej.
Mitch,
I'm
cool.
living in Middle East. Right
Okay.
now, I'm in Middle East. I'm in Kuwait, and
Wow.
I'm an engineer by profession.
Mhm.
And it is filmmaking is my passion. Yeah.
Nice.
I did 8 short movies. Half of my short movies are microfilms, like 5 minutes and even 1 minute films. I did.
Great.
So these are my background. I'm just listening to what you're talking about. I have 2 questions to you. Like, when we make the script, I do the scripting as well as the direction. So when we do the script, like we have a theme for this subject, then to enhance that subject, probably we may have to go for like different layers of the story to add up to that one. So what do you think? Like, how do we move forward in that one? That's one question. Another one is when we go for the shooting the film, you said the shot selection, or is there any rules or any particular theory or methods for that one? How do we select these shots? And probably we have a DOP, we have a cameraman. Shall we depend on the cameraman, or is the director's right to say exactly where do we keep out, or how the shots should be like that? Thank
Wow,
you.
great question. All right, let's jump in. Okay, all 3 really good questions. Okay, so let's start from story. So a really simple way to think about story that's going to be really impactful for you guys is hero, goal, conflict. And this is something that I'm sure you guys already know on some level, but it's the gift that keeps on giving. Just keep returning to hero, goal, conflict. Let's say it's a 30-second go. I love that you're doing 1 minute. That's a great length. It's really, you can do so much in 60 seconds. It's a lot. So who's the hero? He's a guy who, let's say even something as simple as I'm the hero, right? Okay, I'm having this thing. And what's the goal is I'm hungry, so I want to go eat some lunch. Right. And then I go to my kitchen, but there's no food in there. That's the conflict. Right now, I'm like, oh man, there's no food in my refrigerator. Now I got to go out on an even bigger adventure. Right. Really subtle. Right. Nobody's going to want to watch that movie, but you get the idea of hero goal conflict that shapes what happens. So it happened. And so on a bigger scale, if it's like a great big adventure, like if it's a fantasy story about a dragon coming in and blowing up a castle, now the hero is the knight, right? The knight that has like sword and sandals. The goal is to go slay that dragon, and the conflict is this big ass nasty dragon that's gonna that likes to eat people and burn them, right? So you have there's a 90-minute scale of hero goal conflict, and then there's every scene has hero goal conflict. And a lot of times what'll happen is we're thinking of exposition, which is kind of like the story stuff, like, oh well, when the dragon was born it was over here, or when the knight was trained it was there. But those are kind of things that kind of what you really want to stick to is hero goal conflict, because that's the most central way to attract the audience's attention. They're most interested in hero goal conflict. Everything else is kind of like the flavoring around the gravitational center. hero goal conflict. Even when you pitch a story, if you haven't, if you're pitching, oh, here's my new story, think about it. It's a story about such and such, and this person wants this goal because it's really important for them to change their life or whatever, but it's hard. Why? Because of this conflict, right? Hero goal conflict. That, and the reason for that, guys, is that's how we psychologically perceive the world. Like the world is sort of, we create this perceptual groove of, we have a desire, right, for love or for success or for money or for whatever. And then we do a goal to get those things, to fall in love, to get our career together, to get away from a monster or to whatever. There's a goal. And then there's the conflict. If it draws our attention in, it's because the conflict is really big. We can't fall in love because we're too scared. We can't slay the dragon because we're too afraid, right? We can't we can't get money for our thing because we don't see any value that we have to offer, right? There's internal conflicts and there's external conflicts. So think hero goal conflict, and that's keep coming back to those questions, and that's going to tighten everything. Okay, so that's number one. Number two was shot selection. It's a great question. Because remember, when I started, I had no training at all. I was just goofing around with my friends. My friends came up to me, I was 15 or 14, and they're like, hey, we're making a Kung Fu movie. Do you want to join us? I was like, oh yeah, that sounds great. And none of us knew what to do. We just started making it up, and it was so much fun. And then we made the movie and we showed it to our other friends and they were laughing. I'm like, oh my God, this is the best. So I was hooked. So, but how did we figure out those shots? It was just like, what do we want to see? Right? It was really that simple. It's like, well, where should we put the camera? If it's going to be two people fighting in a thing, well, maybe you have the two shot, right? Because what do you want to see in the scene? You want to make sure both people are there. Well, what if you actually do an over the shoulder shot? Now it's kind of dynamic, and actually now the guy can throw a punch, and because you don't have that depth perception, he can actually go, and he's missing him by, if you look at it this way, he's missing him by a foot, but you looked at it this way, it looks like it popped him, right? So you just play with it. So that's at the basic level, right? So you just kind of like, what do I want to see as a viewer? And then your frame will be what you really want to see and what you want to focus on, right? That's the simple answer. The more advanced answer is you play the apples to apples game. You look at one of your favorite, directors or cinematographers, and you look at the way they're constructing shots, and you go, why? Why are they framing it this way? What is the weight in the frame? Is the head, like, look at my frame. Is the head here weighted this way, right? Or is it in the middle, right? Or is it over here? And is there a difference? Or if I'm like this, how does that feel, right? That now I'm kind of over, you're looking up to me, right? That's kind of like, who do we look up to? When we're kids, we look up to adults, they have more power. Or what if the frame is down here, right? Now I'm kind of looking up to you guys, right? I'm kind of laying down, it's weird, but like, so those are very subtle things that you're doing with your shot selection. Where is the eye line? Where is the weighting in the frames? So you can study some, you can go on like Skillshare or YouTube videos and get a basic sense of like graphic design in terms of a frame and get some basic ideas that way. You can think about, study some color theory. There's lots of different ways to do it. But you just want to start being aware of what's in the frame and why. And then beyond the frame too, there's a lot of interesting things you can do, like even if something's off frame, it's really it becomes interesting. Like what's going on outside of the box that we're looking through. So think about it that way. The last question, and there's also like really specific courses, but there's really good YouTube videos on this too. So just go to YouTube and go shot selection. Filmmaking shot selection. There's people who have really good thoughts on specifically how to up level your game. And again, what's great about a 1 minute clip, any of your friends can see that and say, okay, what were the best shots in this one minute clip? You know what I mean? Why? How is the lighting in those clips? Could the lighting be better? Could the sort of kinetic energy of the shot be better? Could any, and here's the other thing too, when we get that feedback loop, what are they responding to? Are they talking about how beautiful the shots are? Are they talking about how great the performances are they talking about the ideas behind this? You know what I mean? Or are they talking about the emotion of it? what qualities are they responding to, and then go, ooh, I like that, I want to do more of that, or I thought this was going to be scary, nobody's scared. What happened? How can I actually make it scarier, right? So you want to listen to that audience and then dial in, and certainly from the shop perspective, you have so many different choices that can enhance the impact of that selection. For the third question about collaborating with the DP, that it's a big one. You guys probably, DPs, they tend to be very headstrong and sometimes arrogant. So number one is pick a camera person that you really like and you don't feel intimidated by, and you feel is very collaborative. And you don't want somebody that's like, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. You want somebody that feels like they're a peer and you guys are creating together, that you guys are like, ooh, I like it and you like it, so that it's a real balanced, inspired relationship. So you really think it's the same way you would pick a co-writer or any sort of collaborator, somebody that likes you for your superpower. And when you disagree in an agreeable way. You don't be like, it's got to be my way, blah, blah, blah. You play nice together. You go, hold on a second. We're trying to do this. And I don't, what's a way that we can sort of figure out a shot or whatever that we're both really excited about? Not just your way, not just my way, like both of us. It's our souls coming together to create something really special that's even better than what either of us could do on our own. Those are always the best collaborators. Yes?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Great questions. Okay. Who is next, my friends? Sarama. I'm butchering these names. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's no, it's fine. It's Shuromo.
Oh, cool. Sharomo.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my question is very basic. So I would firstly like to know how important is the screenwriting, or how important is the script, uh, like at the very beginning, because many a times what happens, at least with me, is that I have an idea and then I want to execute it, and I know my shots and everything, like how would the story progress and everything. And then what I do is I decide my actors, I decide my performers, and I use them and I give them situations to act on, and that's how I devise. And through devising I then kind of write a very like, it's like a point wise script that I write, the basic points, the basic checkpoints that I need to have while I'm executing that film. And then I make the film. Many a times I do not even have a blueprint of the script or something like that. So in that case, how important is the script? And also many, I like in India, we have many directors as well, in the industry as well, who even do not have their script with them. They even write in the sets, on locations, so that also happens. So yeah.
I love that question. It's a great question. And this is why getting back to that quick feedback loop is so important. Because there are directors that basically start directing first and figure out the story later, right? They'll just start doing it. That's a really wonderful way, especially if you're most interested in like performance and really grounded sort of drama. That's a great way to kind of figure out what's going on, right? What's the problem that people that use that approach run into is they'll probably get moment to moment sparks and interesting intensity. But how do you hold attention over time? And that's really the magic of screenwriting, of designing. You can imagine over a 90-minute period, how do you take a hero and their goal, and then we're wondering, will they accomplish this goal or not? Step by step by step by step. That's what a screenplay really is. It's a planned step-by-step process. So if you've got this fast feedback loop, if you're doing a 1-minute thing or a 3-minute thing or whatever, and people are start responding, and if they start to get bored, if you kind of talk to somebody and get some feedback and go, you know what, I love the first 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and then I started to get boring. Why? Because the goal probably wasn't compelling enough. Well, how do I then sustain a goal that's big enough to last for a full minute? And how do I create a goal that's big enough to last 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes? That's where it's harder to figure out if you're just kind of improvising with actors. You really can, it's better to think about conceptually, because you can just think about life. There's things in your life that were like, again, what am I having for lunch? That's a goal, but it's a tiny one. Or who will I spend the rest of my life with romantically? That's a big one, right? Or how do I run away from this tiger? That's a big one. That's a big one, right? So it depends on the scope. So but here's the note for you. When at NYU Film School, they didn't really teach us really hardly anything about story. It was all mostly, it was like get an idea and then get up and start directing it. So for you guys, the part of you that's directing, that's so the takeaway there is, so what happened is I got to be an even better director, but my story skills weren't very good. So that feature that I made when I was 22, each scene was pretty good and interesting, but as a whole, it was really flat because I didn't have a really good progressing goal. So it was kind of a subtle goal. It's like the guy had to realize something, right? Very subtle. But if I was to do a story that was like a revised story of those same elements now, I would start it here and then build it to here and then build it to here and then build it to here so that it goes up, 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 up. So that so it all builds. That's what basic story structure is. It's beginning, middle, end, so that it progresses and gets bigger. And so usually that's easier to do on paper because you're really doing it in your mind. In the beginning, the goal was this, but then it gets harder and it goes here, and then it gets hardest of all because he goes and faces the dragon in the cave, and that happens up here, right? So it's progression of intensity and escalation of the stakes for the goals, and that's sort of what screenwriting is about. Directing is really kind of having that all worked out, and then you go, all right, where's the camera going to go? How are the actors going to act? How is this going to, how are we going to convey what's there? But you want to have that foundation in the script beforehand. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And
And
the key, the one quick follow. The key is take your cues from that feedback loop. Let the audience tell you. They're like,
right,
no, dude, this was amazing. You don't have to do anything different. It's great. And then as you get longer and longer, if you're holding their interest, they'll tell you, or you'll be able to find out one way or another where they're getting bored. And once they're getting bored, you go, okay, how do I then hold their attention for longer and longer periods of time? And it'll come back to your three new friends: hero, goal, conflict. When that goal is compelling as hell, that will hold their attention for longer and longer periods of time. Yes?
yeah. What I really loved is that the thing you said about the arc, that I guess like when I write scripts, that would really help me a lot. Yeah, and to plan
Yeah.
it better. Yeah, yeah, right.
So yeah, so there's specific ways, again, because when I was trained as a writer director, but we didn't do much of the writing, we did the directing. So I didn't find out like a Hollywood screenwriting system till much later in my life. So you guys, maybe you're not some of the situations. Sounds like you guys are doing mostly shorts, So what you could do is find a system. I have my own system. You can, follow up with me. It's like a 9-step system in how I think about story, how I hold attention thinking about story over 90 minutes for a feature, right? Or it could be for a series. But there's lots of systems. Like Blake Snyder Save the Cat is a good system. I've got my system. There's lots of different systems, but like spend some time when you're ready, especially I know at least two of you have already done a feature, but spend some time. The biggest difference between a short and a feature is the short is mostly about you guys as a director, like some sort of idea and the characters and the shots. It's more of an idea. Whereas a 90-minute experience is just a bigger personal growth experience for the audience. And then you really need to think on deeper levels, what's a huge goal? If it's 30 seconds, you just need a little thing. It could be an idea or a joke or whatever. But if it's a 90-minute experience, it's got to be a massive, life-changing goal for a narrative. So how do you kind of clarify what that is for you? find a screenwriting system, my system, Blake Snyder, or there's a ton of them. Just find somebody that you really relate to. Like, I like the way the guy thinks, and then go to town on it. Yes.
Right. Thank you so much.
Cool. You're welcome. I'm glad to help. These are great questions. I love this, guys. You guys, this is awesome. Okay, who's next? Then for a TV show, it expands more. Okay, yeah. So let's talk about the difference between TV and film. So I've developed both. The main difference is, well, let's first start with three types of episodic TV shows. Right? There's just the long adventure, like Breaking Bad is kind of like one big long adventure, right? So it could be you could do a 90-minute version of Breaking Bad that's maybe the first couple episodes or something. And they just extended it to, whatever, 10, 12 episodes for one season, and then extended it, but it's one main arc, right? That's sort of like, that's basically like a feature, just longer. The second type of episodic storytelling is like a detective show where they solve a mystery every week, or a police show where they solve a crime every week, or like it's a family situation where they have a family adventure where dad gets into some crazy hijinks and then they're like, oh, dad, whatever, and then I think or it's a bunch of friends and they go on like a dating adventure and then they come back, right? And those shows, you can actually, the order doesn't matter at all, right? It's just an adventure of the week, generally speaking, right? So and then there's the third type, which is an anthology series. It's like Twilight Zone or Black Mirror, where like every episode is like totally different characters, but there's like a thematic thing that's similar. That everything's going to be kind of mystery and crazy or whatever, right? So those are the three different types of episodic storytelling. So some ideas that you'll come up with will lend themselves, and then then the exciting thing about micro content, guys, is you kind of get to do your own thing, right? So if you guys this weekend start shooting stuff on your phone and mess around, right, you can like invent a whole new form. You can do like a series of 30-second clips. Maybe you have an idea for that feels, again, you want to go back to like, when are people getting bored with this idea, right? So, because some ideas you get bored after 5 seconds, and some ideas you're not bored even for 5 hours, right? So you just got to come up with what you think, check with your audience and find out. So if you're doing micro content, you could actually string together a series of like 30-second clips, one that leads to the second, that leads to the second, that leads to the second, as part of the way that you're dancing with your audience and nurturing them. Again, something that you shoot for free on your phone with an actor that and then once you get a feel for, that's the whole thing, is like, you guys as writer directors, you want to get a feel for holding the audience's attention and then turning it and deepening it. And in the internet, anything goes. You can choose whatever length you want. You can upload something tonight that's 3 hours or 3 seconds. It's anything. The key is just how interested is your audience. So you just play off your audience. And that's why it's so powerful for you guys as developing your skills, but it's also powerful for nurturing your audience, because once you have the audience, that's your best business asset, because that's you. So okay, so does that answer that question? I think I rambled a little bit. Okay. All right, who's next? You guys, great questions. Oh, that was yes, they said the difference between TV and film. Yeah, okay, so I think I answered that. If in general, if you have an idea that's kind of a bigger idea, if it's one big adventure, it's a feature film, 90 minutes. If it's a massive adventure, it's probably like an extended streaming series, 10 hours, If it's kind of like an adventure of the week, then it's more like an episodic thing. Or anthology could just be like, it's kind of, there's a thematic similar. So those are different ways of thinking about sections. But again, the exciting thing to me is these days, just get online, experiment, feel like, get to know yourself as a creative person and go, you know what, I got ideas that are this size, and whatever size you're drawn to create, you can find an audience that's going to engage with you at that size. And then if it's going to go longer, make sure you earn the right to kind of go longer, in a sense. I mean, you're able to, because here's what happens. And here's what happened to me in my own film. I was already good. I already made 60, 70 films, and I won awards at NYU. And I was like, I'm ready for a feature. But the truth was, I really wasn't. I was really good at shorts, but I was really good at maybe 10, 15 minutes. And again, I would advise myself to go from probably actually just to make a few more 10 or 15-minute ones, but like drilling down, getting even better. Because like I said, Hollywood will hire you on a great short, like a phenomenal short. It happens. People will like get like, if it goes viral, if you have a short that goes viral and Hollywood sees it, they don't care. You don't need to have a feature for them to be interested in doing business with you, but you need a very, 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 very high level short that. And how do you know it's high level? Because you see a ton of people watching it, or it has the qualities of a certain movie that they're like, ooh, we want that. This guy's got a voice. He's got a superpower that's interesting that we haven't quite seen. It's different, and it's in there. So, okay, who's next? Angad. Is that how you say your name?
Absolutely right, Angad.
Hey, there you go. I got one right. That's good. Good to meet you.
Yes.
How can I help you today, my friend?
So it's really nice session, and thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so my question is how to develop a character, like after reading a script, so writing a script, so developing the character and creating frames as per the understanding. Like, for example, how to create frames as per the understanding of character and the scene. Hope you're getting my question.
No, I'm confused. Can you say it again?
So the first question is how to develop a character.
How do you create what?
Develop a character.
Can you put it in chat? I don't.
Okay. I'll just put it in the chat. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe he's asking how to develop a character.
How to
characterization.
How to develop character. How to develop character.
Correct.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, of course. Sorry about that. Great. Okay, good. So that's one question. Character. What else?
And how to create a frames as per the understanding of character and the scene.
And then how to frame a character in terms of like the shot selection to really highlight the character aspects. So if it's a character-driven scene, how do you do shot selection? Is that right?
Right.
Excellent. I love these questions. These are great. Okay. So first of all, character. There's two suggestions for you guys. One is the function of a character in a movie is a personification of our thought and feeling. So did you guys ever see that movie by the Coen brothers, No Country for Old Men? Right. So some of you have seen it. So it's this movie about a guy who stumbles upon some money and this terrible grisly like shooting. It looked like it was a drug deal that went bad, right? And it was in the middle of like the desert, like nobody was around. And he's looking around, there's a big bag of money, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna take the money. He takes the money, he figures there was like big nasty shootout. He takes the money and he runs. But as we know in life, when you steal something, the law comes after you. So, well, something comes after you. So he actually had two people. So the thing that came after him in that movie, it's called No Country for Old Men, based on a book, is this character named Shigur. And this character, played by Javier Bardem, is a force of nature. He's almost like a zombie. He walks slow. He has a strange way about him, and he's an unstoppable force. And so he's almost a little bit surreal in the way they created him. And so he's instructive for this question because he doesn't quite feel like a real person in a way, because he's representing fate. Fate is this idea of, you're going to get what's coming to you, right? If you steal money, you are inviting problems, right? There's no sort of free money. There's always strings attached. So it's almost like the lesson of the movie is steal the money, get the consequence. So in terms of character, he's a fascinating character because he's not actually acting the way most people do. He's acting slightly different. And that in a way makes him feel more representative of how we feel about fate. Like when we make a choice that's maybe a bad choice and we get bad consequences for it, that's what it brings up in us. So that's just a kind of an extreme example, but every character in our movies are qualities that we are thinking about, right? So it's sort of like when they say when we dream at night, every sort of person in our dream is some sort of facet of us. So we're like, I haven't thought about that person, you know. So we'll have a dream and we'll think of somebody that we knew when we were like a kid, like 5 years old. And I was like, man, I haven't thought about that person or whatever. But I dream about that person because there's a quality of that there's thoughts that I had about that person that are coming up in my life now. Maybe that person was brave or cowardly or funny or whatever, but there's something that's going on in my current life that made me dream about that person. So when we create movies, guys, it's the same thing. Like every character is representing something in our life. A great way to do something, a bad way to do something, a funny way to do something. And those characters are really personifications of those feelings in us, because a movie is a personal growth experience. So we're watching some other characters do some other things and it evokes something. Is that person mean? Is that person funny? Is that person sexy? Is that person whatever? But like each of those characters represent different parts of us, of our psyche. So when we're designing the characters in our movie, think about the feelings or ideas that that person represents. It's often why when you have like a movie that's like a buddy story, you have one character that's really messy and another character that's really clean and neat, right? And now you have contrast. Or one character that's really angry and mean and one character that's really nice. You have those contrasts, right? One character that talks really fast, another character that talks really slow. And now you've got two different poles that are pulling each other, and you have a dynamic that draws us in. So that's the function of character in movies. They're personifications of ideas and feelings that we have. The other way to think about it, from sort of like if you're drawn especially to like more grounded, more dramatic type material, is I think about people like in my high school or people that I'm in my town, right? And they're just kind of like references. It's almost like a palette. If like I'm a painter and I have a palette of different colors to use, I just think about people in my real life, and I go, oh, you know what? I'm writing this story, and I need to, you know, it's a character about it's a movie, let's say, about these police officers, and the main character is kind of an aspect of me that, you know, that needs to sort out this big problem. And then his deputy is, oh, he's kind of like that guy that I grew up with. He's kind of, you know, and you think of those qualities and then you kind of riff on them. Or you can think about, you know, a movie star. Oh, he's kind of like Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt or whatever, just as like a base. And then you personalize it. He's kind of like Tom Cruise, but he's also a little bit like my brother or whatever, you know. And then you kind of, but the more specific you can make those choices in terms of, because you know, you can hear those people talk, the people that in your life, you know, especially if there's somebody in your family or a close friend, and you kind of hear their cadence and the way they talk and the way they do things and why they do things. And then once you know why this person does it, and then you marry it with what I said before, like what's the function of this character in this movie? You know, a lot of times the antagonist, the function of that character is that's the that's the antisocial part of us. That's the part of us that's really mean or nasty or greedy or scared or whatever, and does all sorts of terrible things. And so if we really love that part of ourselves, and that plays a really wonderful function to make that's the conflict personified is the villain, the antagonist, and that makes the hero's journey even more difficult because the big terrible villain. Okay, so that's those are two thoughts on character. A is they're representing thoughts and feelings, and then B is, you know, model them on somebody you know, and it could be a movie star or whatever, and then just tweak it to make it feel real for your own expression of because everything we do is really a metaphor for something personal in us. So make it personal to you, but like kind of expressed in somebody you actually know, and then make it fit for this actual story. And then it becomes, and then when we do that enough as a starting point, they start to become their own being, and they almost, you can hear them talk, and you see, and when you start to work with the actors, you guys see it. They also, they embody these things. They're like, wow, I kind of created this, but it's almost like it came from beyond me. They're almost outside, and it's great. Okay, so that's from the writing side. From the directing side, again, go to your favorite directors. How are they framing your drama? I personally, because the movies that I made were more performance centered. I liked just setting up the camera and letting the actors play long takes, letting them go back, because there's a nuance that happens with really good actors when they're hammering away at each other. This one's hammering this way and this one, and I just let them play, you know. And that's some of my favorite movies are doing it that way. Other, you know, so I would go to the shot selection of your favorite directors, see why they covered it that way. Were they holding long takes? Were they punching into close up, close up, close up? What's the editing rhythm, right? Those are different ways of covering it that bring our attention to what's going on in that dynamic and that conflict in different ways. Is it a really big long scene, or is it a short scene? It comes in, boom, and moves on. So yeah, so I would just go to school on your favorite filmmakers and then have discussions, you know, come up with your own ideas and go, I think Scorsese covered it like this because of such and such. Have a theory and then test that theory. Talk to your friends that also love that movie. Say, hey, why do you think Scorsese covered it this way? What if Scorsese did it this way instead of that way? Do you think it would have been better or worse or whatever? And in those discussions, you start to discern your own superpower as a director. Like, here's what makes me different. I liked what he did, but I would like it better if we pulled way back, or we pulled way, you know, we got in close, or, you know, we longer take or shorter. Those are the basic things, the basic tools you have. How close you are to the action. You know, are you above it? Are you below it? Are you eye level? The rhythm, is it quick rhythm, pop, 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 or slow and patient? And does it change? Maybe one scene is slow and plays in a one shot for 60 seconds. And then the next scene is like, you know, 2 seconds cut, 2 seconds cut, 2 seconds cut, pop, pop, pop. So you get to, and here's the last thing I'll say about that is, think about your shot selection in the beginning of your story and the end of the story, right? And that has to do with your pacing. So you might start, let's say, even if it's like let's say it's a 5-minute thing or 10, whatever the pace, whatever the thing is, your shots in the beginning could have one rhythm. And then maybe if it's like an action thing, it picks up. The shots in the middle are a little faster, the editing rhythm, pop, 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 pop. And then you get to the end and it's pop, 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 and the music goes bomb, bomb, bomb. But think of it rhythmically and pacing wise. Or it could be the opposite. It could start off really kinetic, pop, 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 pop. And in the middle, it kind of slows down, pop, 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 pop. And at the end, ends with one long, like 2-minute take. You know, but what you want is progression. That's what holds interest. You want progression of story ideas. The hero has an idea, it gets harder and gets still harder still. And you also want progression of shots, or at least be open to that. You might have your shot selection slightly shift. And then editing rhythm, you know, maybe fast, slow, or you could go fast, slow, fast, right? But you want to be deliberate about it. Yes?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Cool. You're welcome. You're welcome. These are fantastic questions. I really love it. Most of the people in my group are screenwriters, or mostly just screenwriting. I would say a small percentage are actually directing as well. So it's really fun for me to talk to writer directors. All right, who's next? I think Anirudh. Yeah, you were next, I think.
Yeah, hello. So I would like to take some help in translation from Angad. Could you please?
Okay.
You want me to translate? Okay.
Yes. तो मैं ये पूछना चाह रहा हूँ कि मेरे साथ पर्सनली कभी-कभी या हमेशा ये होता है कि राइटिंग में मैं फंसता तब हूँ जब 2 चीजें होती है। पहली तो ये कि जब मैं फॉर्मूला के साथ जाना चाहूँ, ठीक है? और दूसरी ये कि मैं अपने जो फेवरेट फिल्म मेकर्स हैं उनको सुन करके, या डेविड लिंच, जैसे कि डेविड लिंच, क्विंटिन टैरेंटिनो या अनुराग कश्यप, इनकी फिल्में देख करके मैं बहुत ज्यादा मतलब सीखता हूँ। तो उनको जब भी मैं सुनता हूँ तो उनका ये है कि आप स्ट्रक्चर या किसी भी प्रिंसिपल को फॉलो करने के बजाय आप नेचुरल प्रोसेस से उसे लिखो, ये ज्यादा वर्क करता है, ये उनका मानना है। और मुझे भी बहुत बार ये मतलब अट्रैक्ट करता है लिखना, ठीक है? बट जब मैं इसे अपनाता हूँ कि मतलब अब की राइटिंग वाले फेज में, तो बहुत बार आप अटकने लगते हो, फंसने लगते हो, और कभी कभी डर भी लगता है ये काम करेगा या नहीं करेगा। अंगद, आप समझ रहे हो मैं क्या कहना चाह रहा हूँ?
हाँ, सो आप ये कह रहे हो कि आप स्क्रीन राइटिंग में अटक जाते हो क्योंकि आप फिल्म डायरेक्टर्स को स्टडी करते हो, तो उनके फॉर्मूला को आजमाते हो, राइट? दैट्स वी आर डूइंग।
जी बिल्कुल।
नहीं मतलब मैं ये पूछना चाह रहा हूँ कि एक फॉलो करना मतलब रूल्स को, 3 एक्ट स्ट्रक्चर को, और 3 एक्ट स्ट्रक्चर को, ये पहला चीज, और दूसरा चीज कि अपने नेचुरल इंस्टिंक्ट को, राइटिंग को फॉलो करना, ये दोनों में किस चीज को चुना जाए, बेटर क्या है? क्योंकि मुझे ज्यादा पर्सनली लगता है कि नेचुरली लिखना, बट बीच में जब मैं अटकता हूँ, फंसता हूँ, तो मुझे लगता है कि वो सेफ रहता है जब मैं स्ट्रक्चर को फॉलो करूँ.
So he wants to say, like he gets stuck with the story writing. Can you just mute, Anirudh?
Yeah, sure.
So he's saying he gets stuck in screenplay story writing when either to follow a 3-act structure or natural writing. That's what he's trying to say. Am I right, Anirudh?
हाँ हाँ जी, जैसा कि मतलब बहुत से फिल्म मेकर्स बताते हैं उस तरह से.
As he follows other filmmakers.
So I think there's a question about sort of traditional 3-act structure versus something that's a little more non-traditional. Does that sound like the question he's asking?
Yes, I guess.
Does he find because okay, so hopefully this is it. So because a lot of people, they might look at like Save the Cat or System, they feel like it's too rigid. The boxes are too closed in, right? That you don't have enough freedom within the so I love that question. And so here again, what's great about this, guys, is don't take my word for it. Build up an audience and listen to your audience. They will tell you when they get bored. Because that's the whole thing. And this goes back, thousands of years, like Aristotle's Poetics. He was talking about, an act structure. And what was he talking about? He's basically talking about beginning, middle, and end, because people get bored if it's just beginning. They want beginning, then middle, then end. They want some sort of progression. And that's it. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. So here's an interesting thing for you guys. So when I was, at NYU, I made one of these films I made was at a film festival. So I was 21 years old or whatever. And I went to the festival and they're like, "Oh, Brooks, we loved your movie. It was so good. It had a beginning and a middle and an end." And I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Like, I didn't, what? Don't all things have beginning, middle, and end? Like, I wasn't consciously thinking of story structure progression. It came out intuitively, but they were all seeing so many short films that were flat, that just had a beginning. And so what happened? So that's what, and literally 3 or 4 people came up to me, were like, "Oh, your film was so good because it had a beginning and a middle and an end." And I was like, what are they doing? It was so weird. So the way to personalize that is just that you don't make it more complicated. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, Poetics is it really, it's about this basic human concept. It's like, when do we get bored? And that's why when you guys go into really leaning into finding your voice in micro content, and then expanding outward from there, or even just chaining together micro content to be a series of micro content, let your audience demand, go, "Oh my God, I love this, do more of this." And if you're going to do it in one extended piece, just know it's a really high bar, because generally speaking, people get bored after 5 or 10 minutes of one thing. So after 5 or 10 minutes, make something happen, make it a twist, make the stakes go up, and then do that for 5 or 10 minutes. Like if you look at Raiders of the Lost Ark, that classic Steven Spielberg film from like 1982 or something, right? They kind of talk about that in like almost 7 acts, but we're really just talking about, it's 7 sequences. It's like there's this one adventure, and then once he gets that, then there's another adventure, and then when that's done, there's another adventure. You just want to get a feel for your audience, read that room, and when they get bored, you either twist the story in a different direction or just add more fire so that the stakes go up, or have the antagonist get even closer. Like if it's a movie about a guy running away from a tiger, it's like, he's like, the tiger's on the loose. So he's running, running. And all of a sudden he feels like he's safe. But all of a sudden, bring, the tiger pops up again. And now he's got to run. And it's even closer. And then maybe it twists again. And oh my God, now there's 2 tigers. Holy crap. Now he's running from 2 tigers. You got to go here. But like, you're progressing the story. Because if it just was, he's running from the tiger, and he's still running from the tiger. and he's still running from the tiger. You're like, okay, we've already seen that, you know? So that's the big takeaway from Aristotle or me or wherever. And your audience will tell you specifically how interested they are and when they get bored. And just listen to them, listen to that feedback. And because you might even, do a 30-second clip today, or, do a 1 minute or 2 minute clip. And then you'll see, and you can even see, there's some, depending on where you upload it, I think YouTube, you can see analytics when they stop watching. It'll show you that when they stop. That's really helpful information, because here's the thing. If you have a really good goal, hero goal conflict, and it's a minute, a lot of people are gonna watch the whole thing. If they get 5 seconds into it, they're like, yeah, whatever. They drop out. But you can see, but the internet is magic, guys. I'm telling you, it's you guys have an advantage. Movies have been around for like about 120 years, and it's a better time now than ever because of the internet. You've got the whole audience right here on your phone waiting for you. Your specific, unique audience that loves you guys for you. They're here. You just get to make micro content and start connecting with them, start dancing with them, start serving them, because we are. Here's another way to say it, sort of like on a deeper level, we are here to kind of commune with our audience. We're anthemically talking about a story that means something to us and means something to all of our audience. It's a big challenge that we're all facing. And our story is a way of tapping into that so that it feels moving to us and moving to them in a way, right? So you want to go out there and start finding your people that kind of look at life a similar way to you. And they face challenges a similar way, and they make mistakes in the way that you make them, and they're a human in the way that you're a human. And those people are out there, and you just build a relationship, tell their stories for them, because it's also your story. And when you get that and they start trusting you, you're like, man, that guy's awesome. In 20 seconds, he showed me something about me. He showed me how grieving happens, or he showed me how like something deeper in life is available to me, or he shows me something funny or something scary. But like, show them, move them. You can do that in 10 seconds, 20 seconds on your phone. And then once you can do it, that slowly expand it outward. And you do that by progression of stakes. Hero goal conflict, just bigger goals. That's the difference. There's a goal in a 5-second clip, and there's a goal in a 100-page script. The 100-page script is just a much bigger goal, but it's still hero goal conflict. That is what's going to be most compelling. Yes? Anirudh, did that answer your question? Because what happens is, I think what he was getting to is people are like, oh, I read Save the Cat or whatever system. It feels too confining. It feels like I don't want to, I don't. And if it feels confining, you're not thinking of it the wrong way. Just go back to your own goal, whatever the hero goal conflict is, and in your own way, from an authentic place, let that progress. Let it get bigger and better, and let the end of it be the most exciting part. So that's the way to really think about structure. And then read the books and go, oh, because that's what they're trying to teach you. But sometimes the way they teach it doesn't sort of relate. That's why it's important. Shop around. Look at my system. Look at other people's system. Find a system that really makes sense to your way of thinking. And then you'll learn a lot from that. And that'll just speed up the time that you sort of get to that next level. Yes?
Perfect.
Cool. I'm glad that helped, man. Okay. Is there anybody you haven't spoken to yet? Oh yeah. Akash.
Hi. Am I audible?
Yeah. How do you say your name? Did I get that close?
That's correct, Akash.
Oh, good. Nice. All right, too. Okay.
Okay. Am I clearly audible? There is no echo?
Yeah. Good.
Okay. I have 2 questions, and I think they are very basic questions. I don't know if it's worthy or not. But the first question is how to write which makes audience that story is not predictable. Like whatever we write is somewhere the reference of something we have already seen. And already what we have created or what we are going to create is already been there in people's mind. So how to create something which has never been seen from us as well? Like this is the like question in my head, that whatever we haven't seen yet, how to create it. And because we are lacking, we lack with ideas. So how to present it to make them feel jump or don't feel that it's predictable, because most of the ideas are being very predictable these days. So how to cut away your story, your presentation from this cue? That's the one question.
It's a,
And
okay.
second one is, how do we decide the duration of an idea? Like if I'm going to make a short film or a feature film, we decide the duration first, then we come up with the idea. But how to decide that that idea really works the short or really works the feature length?
I love it. Great question. You guys, all these questions, awesome, really good. Okay, I'm excited. Okay, so the first question, it's a huge one, right? So about cliches. How do we deal with cliches and tropes? And it's really important. So here's a way to think about it. So we all deal with death and loss, right? It happens, right? It's, so, you know, it's part of life where there's loss happens. So so the cliche is in a story, there's a character who you know, loses somebody they love, you know, and they're like woo hoo hoo, and it's kind of, it just feels fake. It feels like, you know, it's like whatever. But if you imagine maybe a best friend losing their lover, or like their parent, or God forbid their child, right? Right, any of them, it's terrible. And the specific way they would react. How do they cry? When do they cry? Do they cover up their tears? Do they go and they start eating just to kind of like stuff their feelings down? Do they go run off and try to kill themselves? Like the specific reaction of somebody you know, or you imagine your own self, or you think about specifically how you dealt with loss, right? So loss in itself, especially because in story structure, there's often a death, right? There's often, oh, let me just so there's often a death that happens like in the second act, where sometimes often like a mentor character will die in toward the end of the second act, and they die because they need to create room for the hero to solve the problem on their own without the thing. So how do you handle that death, and how do you handle because again, that like a lot of movies have the mentor dying in that second act, right? So how do you do it in a way that feels real and different? Well, you think about the way you personally actually have grieved, or a friend did, or a friend might, or you might. Because when you get to that specificity of, oh, this person was grieving or facing loss, and it was really, because in real life, it doesn't feel cliche at all. You know, when those real tears hit you or hit somebody else, it's fascinating. You know, because it's them ripping. A loss is sort of a ripping of our social fabric. This person's not going to be around anymore. So they have to kind of, there's a net tearing in real life for you or for me or for anybody. It just feels different. And if you go there, it's never cliche. So authenticity is the antidote to cliche. So even if it's the trope, like I said, all, you know, so many, 80% of movies have a mentor, have somebody dying in the second act, right? Some sort of dying or some sort of type of death. You do it in a way that's fresh because you make it true to that unique character that you've created. That's really a personification of you. It's a spin on what actually happened to you when you grieved, or when somebody else did it. And it doesn't have to be lost. That was just an example. So in general, it's good things that we're going in, because what makes a movie work, guys, is the same but different. And that's when you're talking about surprising. And when it has to, if it's not, so we want the same and we want the different. There's a balance of the same but different that's really beautiful in our favorite movies. If it's too much of the same, we're bored, we've seen it. If it's too different, it's just too weird and we can't relate to it. So we want a good balance of the same but different, right? And so when we do, again, any subject that is, again, we take what's the same, but then we overlap it in a way that's different. What's different is your, Akash, your unique experience and view of life. There's no other human being has had it in the way that you have, in the past, now, or in the future. So you talk about your specific way to grieve or to fight or to, find bravery or to find whatever is really deep and personal to you and specific to you, or to something you've directly observed, or a fictionalization of that, but it feels effing real to you. There's no cliche there, brother. That's the juice. That's the good stuff. And that's why our audience loves us in particular, as opposed to somebody else, because nobody can do it the way we can. That's your singular, that's where your superpower comes from. Okay, so that's step one. Or the answer to question one. The answer to question two is, duration. That gets back to that whole idea of putting out the micro content and getting to know your audience. When are they getting bored? So you have a new, or you said you have a new idea, right? Oh, I've got a new idea. How big is this adventure? Is it a 10-second thing? Is it a 10-minute thing? Or is it an hour, right? You're like, how do you know? Well, one way is to talk to other people. You could obviously hire a coach, or even just talk to friends and be like, look, it's an idea about a guy running from a tiger. How long would you want to watch that? I don't know. It depends on what's going to happen. How much is, if it's, that could be a 3-second thing, or you might be able to drag it out, I don't know, 5 minutes, depending on how it progresses. Again, what you're really looking for is how you're going to realize that idea and when they get bored. So try to do it in like one sentence. Like, okay, this is a story about a guy who's a zookeeper and the tiger gets loose and he runs. Okay. Or whatever. But and then you go, okay, and you could sketch out an outline or whatever. And then you could just pitch it to a friend, but you want to get in front of another human being or send it to another human being, and they'll tell you. Yeah. Or they could go, oh my God, that was fascinating. I want more. In general, here's actually a good note. In general, shorter is better, because most of the time, 90% of the time, it's too long, because we're like sorting it out and we love it. We like making movies, and and the audience is a little bored. You guys see it when you look at other stuff online. You're kind of, it's oftentimes it's really too long. So when in doubt, go shorter. And what's the worst that's going to happen when it's short? They're going to go, I want more. Give me more. And that's a great thing. So leave it short. Give them just a little taste, and then they'll go, no, more. You go, okay. Then you give them another little bit. No, more. Give me more. Then you give them another little bit, right? Now you're reeling them in. Way better than, here, come see my feature that's an hour, and they're like, oh, they were bored after 5 minutes, and now they have to sit there, or a script that's just too long, right? So little by little. Yes, I answered the question. Cool. All right. Is that everybody? Everybody else that didn't get some time? Oh, Sohail.
Okay, I have another one. It's a pretty weird question, but I would like to know about your thoughts. So, I have a VFX background, so I'm pretty involved with post-production. Now, I think this has started to become a problem for me as a writer, because while writing, now I tend to think about, if I can do this thing in post-production, how will I direct it? What sound will be playing? And if that doesn't seem possible to me, I tend to compromise with the writing. I change it, I write something that is possible.
Yeah.
So I just want to know if it's a good habit, or is there something I could do about it?
Yeah, that's it's a great question, right? Because we, as filmmakers, we're the ones that are making it, or not, even if we were screenwriting and selling to somebody else. Come on, dog. Sorry about this. My dog is crazy. Come on. We have the reality of either we're going to make it or some other producer is going to make it. That's the reality, of doing it. So, but what it sounds like to you is that you kind of have a vision for it, and you might be you're using that as an excuse not to go deeper inside yourself and to reveal more, right? And that is a problem, right? So what it's not, it's an opportunity, really, right? It means the opportunity is, just know that. See, here's, and I love this question because we all face it. We all have a place where it's all right. My dog is just going to bark for a while. Sorry about that, guys.
It's okay.
So the best stories hit us in a really deep place, right? And when we tell stories from that deep place, we move our audience in a deep way. So we'll often come up with a variety of excuses. Well, I can't tell it because it's going to be too expensive, or too this or too that. And but the truth is, there's always a way to do both. There's a way to figure out special effects that are cost effective enough, right? That are limited enough. Like here's an example. Like when I've been on the set and I've been moving, I had an idea to do the scene a certain way in a certain location, and all of a sudden, boop, can't get that location. Oh, fuck, what are we going to do? And every single time that happens, something comes up that's even better, or at least adjacent, right? Because why? Because now we're rethinking it, and it's charged up, and everybody's around. It's like, oh my God, we got to really think, what is really going on in the scene? What's essential? And then once you get to the essential part, the magic happens. So I would ask yourself, what's going on that's essential, right? That you're thinking about the special effect in this way, and like get to the emotion of it, because there's probably something that's in you that feels a little sensitive, or a little too revealing, and just know that that's actually a really good thing. That's actually an indicator that you're going to a deeper place, and that you're going to impact people in a deeper way. It's really beautiful. So just slow down, breathe, think about it, and let yourself go and say, okay, at least just for a second, if money wasn't an option, if I could do this, whatever, what would I want to do, like emotionally? What would make this a really beautiful to me if money was not a part of it? Write that. And then once that's there, and maybe you've kind of got comfortable being maybe a little more vulnerable than you were before, then figure it out logistically, because that's the bigger thing, is that, again, on our phone, simple, we can move people emotionally. People will start following you and being part of your community when you move them emotionally. You give them a good idea, you give them a good feeling. You can do that in all sorts of different ways. So get the emotion right, get it at least on paper, because it's always going to be free on paper, right? Get it on paper, get it on like a digital document, that's free. See if you're really moving people. And then once you are, step 2 is, okay, how do we realize this? And know that you have an abundance of creativity. You will figure it out this way or that way or the other way. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
That's good. Okay, anything else, guys? This has been a great session. You guys asked. Okay, Angad.
Yeah, so this is a bit of personal question apart from filmmaking. As you mentioned, like the audience is right here in the phone, right? You should keep posting and creating a micro content. So the problem here is I really don't like my work at all. I never get satisfied whatever I create or whatever I do. Never get satisfied. Though everybody appreciate it, but personally, I don't like my work at all. And that actually brings a lack of confidence in posting content on social media and stuff like that. So how to get that fear and lack of confidence out of myself and open up myself to the world?
Yeah, that's a great question. How come you don't like the work that you're doing?
I don't know. I mean, I feel I just feel like what others are doing are more advanced and more more professional and more matured work. And I though my work is also, I mean, I think I feel I need more exposure in the field. I need more I really need to work like a bit more on that thing, but that gives me a lack of confidence in posting things and showing it to the world, and there's a fear in me.
Yeah.
So how to get out of it?
So it sounds like you're looking at the level of work that you're doing, and instead of going, cool, this is great where it is, you're focused on the opportunity to get even better. Is that right?
Right.
So when I told you about when I was 15 and I made my first movie, and it was a karate movie, and it was terrible, but it was funny. Were you focused on how it wasn't very good and it was going to get better, or just the fact that, oh, it seemed like Brooks had a lot of fun making it, and that for what it was and for being 15, it was perfect. Yes.
Right.
So if you can see that for me, what I did for 15, that means you can also see that for you where you are right now. And what you're in is you're in the habit of just focusing on it. You know, it's actually a really good thing. It's part of why you're probably really good at what you do, is because you're seeing opportunities for more development. But I promise you, there's no place to get to, because you know what? Let's say whatever scale you are right now as a director, let's say you're here, right?
Right.
And then, you know, you're going to listen to me, you're going to run and do some ideas, you're going to get a little bit better. And after, you know, the next year, you're going to get a little bit better. Next year, you're going to get a little bit better. Next year, you're going to get a little bit, right? You see where we're going? Hey, who cares? Like, okay. And then maybe you start like, you know, and then Hollywood's loving your stuff. And then you go and you make Hollywood into international movies, and you're working with movie stars, you're making lots of money. But then what? You're going to make another movie. You're going to make another movie. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go, right? So then when you look back on where you are now or where you were before, it really was perfect. You're not supposed to be anywhere other than where you are, you know? And I know that's easy for me to say, and you're in the habit of looking at it differently, but just know that the fact that you could, you know, probably look at my first movies and not judge them, just that they were student movies. I was just learning. They were really, when you compare that to, you know, even where I am now or later, they're just rougher, they're bumpier. I was just sorting through things. Like here's another way to think about it. When a 2-year-old human being is walking, or they're walking like this, right? They're stumbling, they're learning to walk. Is that bad?
No.
No, no, it's beautiful, right? They're stumbling, they're just, that's exactly where they're supposed to be. And they stumble, and then guess what happens? This stumble, some wonk, and they fall over, and they get up again. They go wonk, and they fall over. What? Wonk all day long, wonk, you know? So like, that's life. That's beautiful. And so what happens is we all are in that state of learning to talk, learning to walk, learning to create. But then what happens is we get a little bit older, and we get into sort of traditional thinking and schooling and this and that, and they say somehow it's bad to fall over. It's bad to fall over. And if I'm falling over, it's somehow a bad thing. But it's not. And in fact, my friend, as you embrace you falling over as a screenwriter and as a filmmaker, and just be like, no, I'm supposed to. And that's why I'm saying micro content. So you put a 10-second clip out there and you're feeling like it's going to fall over and be terrible. Perfect. Just like when you were 2 years old and you were falling right on your face, you know, you fell right over, and you were trying to talk when you were, you know, I don't know what, 9 months old, and you were trying to talk, you were on ba, 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 ba. That's all you could say. Perfect.
Yeah. Right.
It's not supposed to be different. You're supposed to, we're scientists. We're just experimenting. We're just curious. So keep falling over. That's the game. Here's the thing. If you don't fall over, you're not getting better. It's not like, it's like you have to. That's the game. And yes, as we get older and as we get better, we're going to fall over differently, right? And at different levels. Maybe we'll fall over like this way, blink, but we're still falling over. We're still messing out. And in fact, one of the biggest problems that professionals get into is they stop taking risks, right? They go, oh, I just won this Oscar. Now I have to be like this perfect filmmaker now because I won an Oscar, or I won an award, or I won the box office, or this big movie star is working with me. No. I promise you, everybody will like working with you better when you're like, we're all going to fail. Let's do some really great failure, you know, and then you learn, you fail and you learn, you fail. So that's, and it's a practice. I mean, you can understand that here, right? Everybody understands it, but like my invitation to you is actually, here's a specific thing for you today. And anybody that feels the same way as him, the assignment is, I know it's nighttime for you guys. So you wake up tomorrow morning, and in the first hour of the day, make a 10-second clip and put it up online. And it's supposed to be terrible. You have to, here's your clip. Boom, it's terrible. It's really bad. It's like you talking about something, or you like whatever, but like a really bad clip. And then put it on. And if it's too embarrassing to put it on like a social platform that you use a lot, start a new account on Twitter or something that you never use and just put it up there, just for the experience of going, okay, no, it's okay to fail. It's supposed to be terrible, right? That will open up the floodgates and then just get you comfortable with going, I'm not supposed to be anything other than I am. This is it. I'm like the toddler falling over. Yes?
Absolutely right. Sure. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. Yeah, I just put a question in the chat box. How about going with an abstract script, which many times I fail to communicate with the people, or they don't understand me properly? What do you think? Like,
Well, look, if it's abstract, right? Remember we said this, that when we're talking about mass scale storytelling, telling a story for tens of thousands or millions of people, right? That's where the same but different comes in. If it's abstract filmmaking, that's so different, it's just going to be a tinier audience. And if that's where your heart is, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. But it just means it's a smaller audience. And even then, you want to make it abstract in a way that's the same but different. So for example, like an abstract idea that's just kind of a bunch of sounds or weird thing, people won't be able to relate to it. So tie into something. So make it be like a familiar abstraction. So again, stupid idea off the top of my head. A guy goes to a doctor's office, but instead of it being a doctor, he is a vampire. You know what I mean? And then the vampire does these weird things. Like, that's weird. It's not like quite a narrative. It's just kind of strange, right? But it comes from a real place in you that has a fear of going to the doctor or whatever, or a dentist or whatever. But again, stupid idea off the top of my head. But the point is, anchor it to what your real life is about. If it came up to you, if it means something to you, is it about there's some sort of idea or feeling, anchor that a little bit more and you will expand the audience. I went to a really wonderful art exhibit in LA a couple months ago, and it was, kind of fragmented, and there was just like different dialogue, and it was multimedia. It was really interesting. So, but it felt personal. It felt like the person was talking from like their memoir or their journal, and I could relate to it like it was my journal and my memoir. So if you're going to do something that's experimental or abstract, it's fine. But like, again, you can do it just for yourself, for your own expression. That's fine. But like, if you want an audience, you want to then tie it to something that matters to them. Like I said, like a stupid idea of time, the fear of going to the doctor, the fear of whatever, or the fear of romance, or whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to be narrative. Narrative is hero goal conflict, but it's about something. It came to you for a reason. And so whatever that reason is, tie it to something that other people can relate to. So it's not just so out there that nobody can, it's just, but even that's, I mean, here's another way to think about it, but like how does music work? Music is just a set of sounds that kind of relate to our feelings, right? So abstract filmmaking is kind of more like that. There's like a rhythm of images and sounds that feel more, but it still ties to how your body feels, like the way you process anxiety or confusion or insight or triumph. You could do a really beautiful abstract movie about the way you felt when you met somebody you fell in love with. Maybe it's like bursts of light and joy and softness, and it's abstract, but to you it feels like that's what it felt like when I met somebody I love. When I fell in love for the first time, it felt like that. And it's just sounds and shapes and whatever. But if it comes from that place in you, people are going to get it. You see what I'm saying? So you got to anchor it in terms of something that's really intimate and revealing. Just like, it's almost like our friends Sohail before, where it's like, if it should feel like you're writing in a personal journal or memoir, something that's really personal and like and almost embarrassing, but it's expressed in a way. If you don't want to do narrative, then it's expressed in these sort of abstract shapes, but it feels just like you're sharing your journal. And when you do it like that, people will pick up on it. Again, it's not going to be as big of an audience as narrative, but who cares if it comes from you and you love it? And again, if you're shooting it on your phone and for free or for, it takes you a couple hours to put it together, and you're just kind of saying, it's fun. That's the whole thing, guys, is like, it just doesn't have to cost that much to start experimenting with your audience, putting stuff out there, seeing what they like. They might like the abstract stuff better than your narrative stuff. Who knows? Yes.
Oh yeah. Thank you very much.
Good. Okay.
Makes sense.
One last question? Anybody have one final question for today, or are we done? Going once, going twice. Oh, so Surama.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. It
So
was Shurami, right?
Shuramo.
Shurama.
Yeah. So, of course, this was really amazing, and I can, I guess, speak for everyone here. We really loved talking to you all this while, and it has been a really amazing experience for all of us. And so, the last thing I would like to ask is, how, like, can we perhaps get in touch with you even after Malhar? And if yes, how so?
Great. I appreciate that. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Brooks Elms on Twitter. BROOKS ELMS. You can see it here, Brooks Elms on Twitter. And you can Google me. There's all sorts of, I have tons of free videos about me talking about the craft and stuff. So there's lots of free content. Twitter's free content. You can get on, if you Google me, you'll find my website, or click on the link in my Twitter profile and you can get on my website. You can get on my email list. If you get on my email list, we sometimes do free group coaching calls like this every once in a while. There's exclusive content on my email list. And then for people that really like me, and really feel like they're getting a lot of value out of what I'm saying in their own career, I have a couple different programs. One of them is sort of a deep dive, 5 months with me, and then all the people in my program. So there's a awesome. Thank you for putting in the chat, somebody. So there's you work with me 5 months, 1-to-1, and then there's a group call I do. In that group, you get at least 3 group calls per month, and the group calls you get for life. It's like, once you're in my community, you're in. So that's one program. And then there's another program that just helps people who are already kind of writing or creating at a professional level, and they just want to know, how do I actually build relationships in Hollywood? There's another program for that. That one's called Unleash Your Superpower. The first program is called Answer the Call. It's about sort of answer that call to a deeper place. How do you really start creating at a professional level? Answering that call from within. That's that one program. And then the second program is once you've answered the call enough professionally, you need to sort of meet other people in a way that feels, that you actually enjoy it. That's Unleash Your Superpower. That's the second program. And then I'm actually starting a third program soon that teaches people to make money along the way in different ways, right? So that whether it's in the business some way or outside, because what happens is it's a long game. It takes time and practice to get better and better and better, to the point where producers are going to hire you as opposed to somebody else to make a movie, to whatever, right? So a long way. And then even after you get to the professional level, you have time. So what else are you doing with your time? And because a lot of people in reality, while they're writing wherever, they have some day job that they hate. They're working here or working there, and they're miserable. So my third program helps you make money from your heart and from your soul in a way that makes you a better screenwriter, so that you spend all day long serving people from soul to soul in a way that you love. So that you have that you're doing whatever. It could be all sorts of different businesses, but like you're doing that in a way where you're serving the ideal people that you want to. So your schedule is great, you're making plenty of money, and you become a better filmmaker. It gets you all those things. And then with that balanced sort of abundant schedule, then you're not, because what happens is sometimes people who've already broken through at the professional level, they're like, oh my God, I haven't gotten a deal. I'm freaking out. The money's not there, right? And then they get desperate and they start doing projects and they spiral downward in their career. What I want people that work with me is to keep spiraling upward, right? And it's hard to do that unless you have plenty of money. So the third program is how you basically bring in money by serve people that in ways that you love, bring in plenty of money so you have plenty of time, plenty of money, you're serving people, you're doing what you love all day long, and you're developing your filmmaking career. You get all the things. Anyway, those are the 3 programs. If people want to go deep, you can find me by searching me online. I appreciate that question. But like I said, there's lots of free content I have online too. So whatever your budget is, and if you're not quite sure, you reach out. We can talk, or you can apply for the program. And if it turns out you're not quite the right fit for my program, because I'm really selective about who I work with, I'll give you other suggestions. I know lots of people, and sometimes people aren't the right fit for me, but I'll refer you to somebody else, and you can get, whatever your budget is, whatever your situation is. I'm here to help, and I can help you guys in lots of different ways. So thank you for having me. You guys were awesome. Every single question really great. It was so much fun for me. Yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you.
That's all we got.
Yeah.
Good night, my.
Have a nice
One last thing. So allow your eyes to fall shut. I'm going to send you a blessing to go. So you guys are going to go. I know some people will listen to this later, but for you guys on this call here, if you feel comfortable, you can let your eyes fall shut, and I want you to think about the most inspiring thing we talked about today on this call. And when you doze off into your dreams tonight, I want you to have the most beautiful, restful sleep. And I want it to be so enjoyable and a wonderful night's sleep. And then when you wake up tomorrow, you're going to be refreshed, and you're going to be inspired, and you're going to go out and you're going to create a new short clip of some sort, and you're going to put it online, and you're going to connect with people in your audience that are going to be so happy that you shared a piece of yourself with them. And that is going to be a step forward in you nurturing your new audience. All right. That's what I got for you, my friends. Sending you lots of love. Really good. Good to meet you all. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.